Today is Tuesday, December 31st, New Year's Eve. We are talking about another major hack, this time at the U.S. Treasury Department. Also, we'll get into some of the new laws going into effect tomorrow and what's expected to be Congress's first fight of 2025. Plus, new details about a burglary ring targeting athletes, a preview of the most iconic college football bowl games, and how the nation is preparing for tonight's big New Year's Eve celebrations. Those stories and even more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. It's being called a major breach within the federal government. One of China's intelligence agencies has apparently hacked the U.S. Treasury Department. The Treasury reportedly notified lawmakers yesterday, saying a hacker was able to get a security key, and with that, access to certain Treasury workstations and unclassified documents. It's concerning in part because the Treasury oversees sensitive data about global financial systems and implements sanctions against Chinese firms. But also, it comes as the Biden administration is already dealing with one of the most far-reaching and damaging hacks into American infrastructure. We've told you about this one already when it was first reported that a sophisticated Chinese intelligence group got into at least 9 American telecommunications firms. Hackers were able to access text messages and phone calls, and targets included President-elect Trump and top national security officials. When it comes to this latest breach, the Treasury Department says it's working with investigators now to figure out how much impact it's had. But the compromised service has already been taken offline, and with that, the Treasury believes Chinese hackers no longer have access. All the while, Chinese officials are still denying their government has any role in hacking, and diplomats from the U.S. and China have actually been talking about collaborating on cybersecurity issues. Ukraine is getting another infusion of aid from the U.S., this time to the tune of nearly $6 billion, most of which was approved by Congress. First, the U.S. announced a package for Ukraine's military worth nearly $2.5 billion. It includes critical weapons systems. Separately, the U.S. Treasury released nearly $3.5 billion in economic assistance to Ukraine. That will help pay for critical government services while Ukraine is focused on fending off Russia. President Biden has said he's trying to get Ukraine as much assistance as possible before President-elect Trump gets into office next month. The president-elect has promised to end the war quickly, though it's not clear how. And during the presidential campaign, Trump questioned the level of American involvement in the conflict. So stay tuned. President-elect Trump was dealt a new setback in court this week. He's been trying to appeal the verdict a jury reached last year that said he sexually abused and defamed writer Carroll and now owes her $5 million in damages. Trump's lawyers say the trial judge should not have let jurors hear evidence about sexual misconduct that Trump was accused of in the past, arguing it made the whole trial unfair. But yesterday, a federal appeals court upheld the verdict, saying Carroll's case was strong enough and Trump's rights were not violated. Carroll's lawyer says she and her client are satisfied by the decision. Still, Trump insists he never knew Carroll and that she made up a story about rape to sell her book. And in response to this latest ruling, Trump's spokesperson says the American people demanded an end to the whole lawsuit when they reelected Trump. So Trump will continue to appeal. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson got some much-needed support from President-elect Trump ahead of a new speaker election later this week. Trump's backing is seen as pretty important for the GOP since Johnson is not expected to get any Democratic votes. And some conservative Republicans who usually side with Trump are not happy with Johnson. They were against the latest spending bill Johnson helped get passed and were planning to vote against him because of it, though Trump's endorsement is expected to change some minds. Either way, a speaker will have to be named soon. And until that happens, the House won't be able to conduct any business like certifying President-elect Trump's win on January 6th. As you know, this is just the latest example of uncertainty in this session of Congress. To recap just some of the turmoil over the last 2 years, another speaker was kicked off the job, 2 lawmakers were indicted while in office, and 1 was actually removed. Plus, there were almost 2 government shutdowns, and 3 times some lawmakers tried and failed to remove members of the Biden administration. In the midst of all that, the 118th Congress passed the fewest number of laws in decades, just under 150 bills. And that's much lower than usual. For reference, since 1989, the last 17 Congresses have passed an average of more than 380 laws per session. States have been plenty busy passing new laws of their own, with either bills passed by state lawmakers or ballot measures approved by voters. And a bunch of them are going into effect starting tomorrow on January 1st. For example, New York will become the first state in the U.S. to offer paid time off for prenatal care. That's separate from other sick days. A new Florida law says children younger than 14 will not be allowed to have social media accounts. And California has a new law that says children and teenagers featured online will have to get some of any earnings that come from that content. Also, Kentucky is becoming the latest state to let people use marijuana for medical purposes. Other new state laws address artificial intelligence, abortion, guns, taxes, minimum wage, and a lot more. More news is still coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. Along with the holiday cheer, this time of year often comes with more sicknesses than usual, especially if you're a parent of young kids. And it's just not that fun to deal with. So make it a little easier on yourself to find the doctor you need when you need them with a healthcare app that can filter doctors who take your insurance, are located nearby, and are the right fit for whatever it is you need. Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skin care, and much more. Plus, Zocdoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. I check Zocdoc anytime I'm looking for a new doctor to support my most valuable asset, my health and my family's health. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/newsworthy to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. Zocdoc.com/newsworthy. Now back to the news. This New Year's Eve, cities across the country are preparing for crowds and celebrations late into the night. New York City will once again host America's most famous mass party, with 1 million people expected to pack into Times Square to watch the iconic ball drop. Just yesterday, the crystal-covered ball was taken for a test run, and over the weekend, there was the confetti test. But Manhattan isn't the only place getting ready to ring in 2025. While Wallet Hub ranked that city as the best place to celebrate New Year's Eve, Orlando, San Diego, Las Vegas, and Chicago rounded out the top 5 in that order. Of course, with so many people cramming into small areas, police departments in major cities have also been preparing for a busy night. New York City's mayor said uniformed and plainclothes officers will patrol the area, along with officers in helicopters, on boats, and on horseback. And 6 total drone teams will help officials keep an eye on things from above. That said, law enforcement have not seen any specific credible threats to any of tonight's celebrations. The Madeof Victim Fund is sending out its 10th and final payment, closing the book on one of the biggest financial fraud cases in history. This latest payment amounts to $131 million. All told, the Victims Fund has returned $4.3 billion total to people who were defrauded. And that means authorities have been able to pay back 94% of all the money Madoff stole from more than 40,000 people around the world. Remember, Madoff was an investment advisor who admitted in 2008 his entire business was a giant Ponzi scheme. The money Madoff said he was investing for other people was actually going to himself, family, and friends. This went on for decades before he got caught. Madoff died in prison back in 2021 while he was serving a 150-year sentence. More than 2 months after pop star Liam Payne died, 5 people are now facing criminal charges. One of them was actually a representative and friend of the former One Direction singer. He, along with 2 hotel employees, were charged with manslaughter because, as prosecutors say, they should not have left Payne in an unsafe environment in the intoxicated state he was in, knowing he couldn't fend for himself. Also, another hotel worker and a waiter are accused of selling Payne drugs. Payne was just 31 when he fell from the balcony of a hotel in Buenos Aires and died. An autopsy later found alcohol, cocaine, and a prescription antidepressant in his system. Investigators still believe Payne's death was an accident, but one that could have been avoided if he had been more closely looked after. A new report from the FBI is warning athletes about the international burglars who have been waiting until players are at their games to break into their houses. We first told you about the wave of burglaries when both the NFL and NBA told their players to be cautious. And since then, the break-ins have not stopped. The most recent victim was NBA All-Star guard Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks, who had thousands of dollars worth of jewelry stolen from his house. Star NFL quarterbacks Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow also had their homes broken into recently, among many others. Now the FBI has more details, saying organized theft groups from South America conduct surveillance ahead of time, and they often know in advance where the expensive stuff is kept. They're able to bypass alarm systems, block Wi-Fi connections, and disable devices, conceal their identities, and so on. So the FBI is advising athletes to beef up their security, report suspicious activity, keep reports of their valuables, and be cautious about what information they share on social media. The first ever quarterfinal round of the college football playoff starts today with some of the sport's most iconic bowl games. The first matchup happens tonight at the Fiesta Bowl, where Penn State will take on Boise State. Then there are the New Year's Day games, starting with the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, where Texas will play Arizona State. That's followed by what's being called the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl, where undefeated top seed Oregon will take on Ohio State. And the quarterfinals wrap up with the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, where Georgia will play Notre Dame, also on New Year's Day. The winners of the quarterfinals go on to play in either the Cotton Bowl or the Orange Bowl. Then it's the national championship on January 20th. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, a quick message from Hiya Health. With the start of a new year, it's a great time to start a new routine for your kiddo to ensure they're getting the full body nourishment they need. In our family, we do that with Hiya's best-selling children's vitamin and Hiya's children's probiotic. While typical children's vitamins are basically candy in disguise, filled with 2 teaspoons of sugar at least, Hiya is made with 0 sugar and 0 gummy junk. Just a pediatrician-approved super-powered chewable vitamin that is also approved by my 3.5-year-old son. He loves the taste and the routine of taking his vitamins every morning from his own special bottle, and I love that Hiya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide him with the essential vitamins and minerals his body needs to help support immunity, energy, brain function, mood, teeth, bones, and more. And we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. You can receive 50% off your first order. Yes, half off. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/newsworthy. The deal is not available on the regular website, so go to hiyahealth.com/newsworthy, hiyahealth.com/newsworthy, and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. And today's trivia question is, how many glasses of champagne are consumed in the U.S. on New Year's Eve, according to Wallet Hub? As for last week's trivia question, how much did the dog who played Toto earn from The Wizard of Oz? The answer is $125 a week, which was quite a bit at the time, and it was actually more than what some of the human actors made. The thing is, Toto, whose real name was Terry, had earned her salary with her Hollywood experience. Terry worked in several films before taking on her signature role. In fact, she had already starred with Shirley Temple, among other stars of that day. Granted, Terry's salary was still less than what the film's stars like Judy Garland made, but the dog did make more than the actors who played the Munchkins, who at a maximum made $100 a week. That said, Terry, of course, did not have her own bank account. The salary went to her trainer. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and throughout 2024. We look forward to bringing you the news again in 2025 and are so grateful that you've continued to make us part of your daily routine. Our team is taking tomorrow off to ring in the new year, but we'll be back with another news roundup on Thursday. So until then, have a great day and Happy New Year.